I have come to the least visited country in the entire world, and here's everything we did. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be a somewhat different type of video compared to my usual style. The first covers my initial tips and tricks and overall experiences of the country, whereas the second touches upon some more concerning matters that I felt passionate about and the importance of bringing them to light. So whether it's your curious mind or intrigue into one of the world's most remote countries, stay tuned because this one's for you. There may be an outfit change and a time shift due to some corrupt footage, but the message remains the same. I have been wanting to visit Tuvalu for the last 5 years ever since I heard of its existence, but since my experience of traveling and stepping outside of my comfort zone, I love to explore and really immerse myself in niche parts and corners of the world. And my current stop is Tuvalu. Our first day consisted of dumping off our bags at our accommodation and heading straight out to explore what this country has to offer. My first steps off of the plane and through security made me realize how remote of a location I was in. Despite the size of the country, you couldn't simply just walk up and down. So we headed back to the lodge, hired some mopeds and headed straight for those roads. At the center of the country is the airfield runway, which acts as the beating heart of the island. By day, it's an airstrip. By night, it serves as a community hub, and our accommodation sits right on its doorstep. You can hire either a car or a moped, where half a day is 15 Australian dollars or for a full day it's 20. By vehicle, you can get up and down the island within an hour or two, but it is a pretty long stretch of road. But the width is still something that is mind-boggling to me to this day. We were able to view the ocean from both sides of the country at the same time. That's how thin the island actually is. From that point, I realized Tuvalu isn't just an island. We spent 3 days in Tuvalu, staying at Filomena Lodge, which sits right on the doorstep of the airfield runway. Accommodation across the island is pretty scarce, but you can find a few dotted around. I would strongly advise reserving in advance, both for cost savings and because spaces are usually quite limited. And worth knowing before you arrive, the lodges usually expect you to pay upfront via cash only, so make sure you bring enough to cover for your full stay. And while we're on the topic of planning ahead, one thing to keep in mind is the flights. Fiji Airways is the only airline that actively flies to Tuvalu, and they operate just twice a week. Cancellations happen regularly, whether that's down to weather, fuel shortages, or other factors, so please bear this in mind when you're booking. Give yourself buffer days either side of your trip, and don't book anything time sensitive immediately after your scheduled departure. It's remote for a reason, and the logistics reflect that. When you're on the island, there are a limited number of things to do. It's not the typical location for most tourists. If you fancy a more chilled, off the beaten track adventure, I definitely recommend checking it out. Across the 3 days, we mostly rode our mopeds, explored the island, wandered around the shops, and also did a day trip to a remote islet. Hiring the mopeds was definitely one of the highlights of my trip because we really got to immerse ourselves and explore the island for what it was. Having the freedom, waving to the locals, and simply just being in the moment is all you need, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or an expert traveler. It was exactly the break we needed from all of the logistical movings that we did whilst in Fiji and the Asawa Islands. As I mentioned, we decided to book a half-day boat tour to one of the remote islets. So we were able to snorkel, enjoy the sun, explore parts of the jungle, and actually get to witness one of the locals cooking fresh fish in fire. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced before. Being on Tuvalu alone felt like a surreal experience, let alone going to one of the islets off of the coast of the capital city. This came to a flat fee of 300 Australian dollars. I appreciate that a flat fee of 300 Australian dollars sounds quite expensive, but the more of you that join on the trip on the day, the cheaper it is for everyone. So if you are traveling with a fellow buddy, partner, family, etc., or even if there are fellow guests at the lodge, I would definitely recommend speaking to someone and seeing if you could go together to split the costs. I want to bring us back around to the fact that Tuvalu isn't your typical local destination. There aren't your classic malls, touristy shops, or experiences, but the local shops, markets, and community. If you are someone who likes to keep busy or enjoys the more typical things that a tourist likes to do, then maybe Tuvalu isn't for you. But if you really enjoy learning about a new culture, community, and just embrace being in wildlife, then don't miss this off your bucket list. Now guys, I want to emphasize something very important here. When I was on the island, I came dangerously close to a dire situation. I nearly very nearly ran out of cash. The island is strictly cash only and specifically Australian dollars. I made the mistake of not bringing enough AUD before arriving, thinking that they would accept Fijian dollars on the island. And luckily I had just enough Fiji dollars to cover my back, but it was quite stressful and very close, where you can check out my vlog for further details. Whilst there are ATMs on the island, they currently do not accept Visa or MasterCard. There is only one bank and it is only open between 9 AM to 2 PM. I was able to exchange my Fiji dollars to Australian out there, but if I hadn't had that backup, I could have been in serious trouble. If there is one thing I implore you to do before visiting Tuvalu, bring enough cash. Everywhere on the island, from the lodges to the restaurants to the boat excursions, is cash only. There probably is very little that anyone can do if you do run out of cash. I was talking to one of the NGOs out there and she had to physically require her government to wire transfer money over to the local bank there just to cover her back whilst she was out there. So if an NGO is struggling to get cash out there, a local tourist will probably struggle the same. Moving on from the excursions and things to do in Tuvalu, the next thing I want to touch upon is the local community and culture out there. Tuvalu is a deeply religious country and community is everything here. The people here are overwhelmingly warm and welcoming. Kids waving from the roadsides, locals genuinely relaxed around visitors in a way that doesn't feel performative. The pace of life here is very peaceful, unhurried and slow. Sunday is a genuine rest day and many things are likely to be closed and the island may feel quieter than normal. This isn't necessarily a tourist rule, it's just something to bear in mind. If you are thinking about coming to Tuvalu and you're not sure on the dress code, to dress modestly, be respectful, and if you're heading out to any local areas, make sure to read the room. Reflecting back on my time in Tuvalu, I feel it's really important to raise awareness on the country's current predicaments right now. Tuvalu is made up of 9 coral atolls and islands scattered across the Pacific, roughly halfway between Hawaii and Australia. Its total land is just 26 square kilometers, smaller than most cities, and the capital, Funafuti, sits on a strip of land called Fongafale Islet. The islet just 10 to 20 meters wide, where you can stand in the middle and see the ocean on both sides. The entire islet is wrapped around the country's only runway, the same runway where locals gather in the evenings. There is no higher ground to retreat to and nowhere else to go. It is measured, documented, and confirmed by some of the most credible scientific bodies in the world. Sea levels around Tuvalu have risen by approximately 15 centimeters over the last 30 years. In 2024, NASA's sea level change science team confirmed that a further 15 centimeters of sea level rise is now locked in for the next 30 years, regardless of what happens with global emissions from this point on. The number of high tide flooding is projected to increase by an order of magnitude of all Pacific island nations by 2050, and areas of Tuvalu that are currently seeing fewer than 5 flood days a year could average to 25 by then. Scientific projections suggest that up to half of Funafuti, home to over half of Tuvalu's population, could be entirely submerged during high tides by 2050. But Tuvalu is not standing still. The Tuvalu Coastal Adaptation Project, backed by the Green Climate Fund and the UN Development Program, has spent years building seawalls and reclaiming land to protect Funafuti from encroaching ocean. During king tides, the highest tides of the year, seawaters still push through roads and low-lying areas across the capital, a stark reminder of how temporary these defenses are against a rising sea. The project has used coastal engineering and detailed elevation mapping to plan for a future that is already arriving. And here's the part that I found the hardest to sit with. Tuvalu contributes less than 0.003% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Some of the world's largest countries are responsible for over 44% of these emissions combined. Tuvalu is paying the price. Despite this, the country are committed to reaching 100% renewable energy by 2030. A country of 11,000 people working harder to fix climate change more so than most nations. I went there as a tourist and I came back with profound respect for the local communities, the way of life, and the country's determination to tackle climate change. As a travel content creator, to not only educate myself, but to raise awareness to you as the viewers out there on how important it is to protect places such as Tuvalu. I hope this video has given you some insight to one of the world's most remote destinations, but with such wonderful people and a beautiful community. If you enjoyed videos more like this, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!